Welcome to tonight's debate. I'd like to thank Campus for Christ for hosting this event. The topic of tonight's debate is Christianity versus Naturalism. Where does the evidence point? My name is Jeremy Larkins, and I will be your moderator this evening. Allow me to introduce tonight's speakers. Speaking first, on the side of naturalism, Michael Payton. Michael is a graduate of York University's Cognitive Science program. He has done research in moral psychology at the Schulich School of Business, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Harvard University. Michael has been part of the Center for Inquiry Canada, defending reason, skepticism, and science on radio, television, and in print. To my right, speaking for Christianity, Tom Uzetti. Yeah. Hold your applause. Tom is finishing his philosophy degree this coming April. In 2008, Tom participated in a debate co-hosted by Campus for Christ, defending the existence of God by means of the argument from design. He is a student member of the American Philosophical Association since 2010. Last year, Tom published an article in the Oracle, York University's undergraduate philosophical review, entitled Escaping Through the Morass, a critical survey of relativism and its consequences, where he argued that relativism is an indefensible and self-defeating position. Upon graduation, Tom will be pursuing a master's degree in theology. Please join me in welcoming tonight's debaters.
Thank you, and thank you for Campus for Christ for putting on this event. I know it's always difficult to plan these things, especially at this time of year when everyone's so busy. Importantly, also, I want to say it's great to be debating with friends, as was put in Tom's opening statements. We've debated before. We debated 3 years ago, and it was an excellent, excellent debate. It's, I think, an unfortunate stigma of our time that people think we have to rapidly disagree with each other or meet each other in order to discuss different beliefs. What we're here to do tonight is to be open to each other. Fix microphones. And, yes, thank you. To be open to each other, to experience other people's beliefs, and to be open to that. These debates are not an opportunity just to show off or just to be the other side. They're also an opportunity to gain friendships. I know I gained my friendship with Tom through doing events like these. With Archie, similarly, the Campus for Christ director of Toronto, I met through doing debates. So hopefully this will be a groundwork for future friendships to grow. So, naturalism and what it means. The first thing I want to say is that I'm not primarily or even exclusively just a naturalist or an atheist, although those would be adequate terms to describe me. I would say I'm primarily a skeptic. Part of the mission of the Freethinkers group here on campus and the Center for Inquiry Canada is that we're there to create in the environment a skeptical attitude towards the world, towards any claim that is brought towards you, so that you're able to think for yourself, think critically, and move into the world in those sorts of frameworks. Our recent campaign in Center for Inquiry was titled the Extraordinary Claims Campaign, where we're just advocating the sometimes very hard to advocate slogan that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So the way we did this was by listing a number of extraordinary claims and providing educational materials on what the evidence is for them. Some of these included spontaneous human combustion, ghosts, karma, the afterlife, ESP, spiritual healing, clairvoyance, exorcism, and of course, God. Naturalists are usually against these claims equally. And here is where an important thing has to be noticed about even the way the debate is framed, in that there is a particular kind of dissymmetry, in that the real debate would be naturalism versus supernaturalism. And this isn't uncommon. This is actually very common in these types of debates. For instance, the debate atheism versus Christianity isn't technically correct. It should be atheism versus theism. So Tom has an extra bit of burden of proof on him, and I have an added way to fill it, in that he not only has to assert supernaturalism, but he also has to defend his particular kind of supernaturalism. Similarly, I have an added burden as well, in that I not only have to defeat Christianity, I have to defeat supernaturalism on top of it. So it wouldn't be very good of me if I left this building and on leaving someone said, Mike, I really liked what you had to say about Christianity, but that ESP stuff, you know, that really has a lot going for it. And that's what I believe. If that happens, then I haven't adequately filled my burden of proof. I need to show why all sorts of supernatural beliefs are false. And one thing we'll notice about supernatural beliefs is that they come in a lot of different varieties, and there's literally thousands of them, some mutually incompatible, some compatible. I did a quick calculation today based on a few pieces of evidence, and if I were to devote myself purely to debating and did nothing else, let's say I did only one debate a day, and I only chose to debate against Christianity, there are over 30,000 different denominations of Christianity. And if I was to do that and take one day for each denomination, it would take me over 82 years to just investigate the claims of Christianity. On top of that, there's Islam, there's Hinduism, there's every other religion. So how can I adequately come up here and tell you that I'm a naturalist, I believe that all of these things are not true? Well, it doesn't have so much to do with the particular kinds of evidence that I put forward as the types of reasoning that are employed. So, since Tom is in philosophy, and particularly in epistemology, the points I'm going to bring up now are 4 different ways I think that all supernaturalist types of thinking fail. I'm going to be giving you the argument, first of all, from the expanding circle. I'm going to be telling you when an explanation is not really an explanation. I'm going to be telling you about confirmation bias. And lastly, I'm going to talk to you about encapsulation of explanation. So let's move forward. The expanding circle. One thing we'll notice about naturalism, the assumption that the physical world exists, and I hope that we are all under that impression, that none of us are here arguing tonight that we're all dreams in the mind of God, or like, that's a completely different set of arguments and a different kind of debate than the one we're having today. Naturalism is wildly successful at predicting and explaining the events that we see in the world. Secondly, naturalism only seems to be defeated by a type of supernaturalism which is usually employed in extremely complicated and unknown phenomena. I would say, therefore, supernaturalism only survives in areas of relative ignorance. To give you a piece of an idea of why this might be true, consider the superstitions of medieval Europe. In the 13th century, it might be very common for people to believe the following. First of all, that cheese will spontaneously turn into mice, that women have fewer teeth than men, and that it is wicked to do calculations with the number 0 because it will summon the devil. These are easily refuted by a simple grounding of knowledge on these topics. They were refuted by the scientific miracles of their times, namely putting cheese in cupboards, counting, and performing subtraction. As our knowledge increases in every one of these domains, we see also that supernaturalism decreases. Ask yourself if there is even a single phenomenon which is well understood and extremely well documented and studied, which is still explained by some sort of supernatural belief. At one time, even gravity was supernatural. Aristotle's teleology is supernatural. He believed that objects fell to the ground because, in a way, they wanted to be on the ground. We no longer employ that type of reasoning, and there's good reasons why. Mainly because we understand more about what the mechanisms of gravity are and how they work.